Convenience food. They're just so convenient. We have been on a journey of self-sufficiency and trying to make healthier choices. These choices are not only good for your body, but they're good for your wallet too. While I still buy one or two convenience foods to have on those random moments where you just need something on the go, I have been really trying to make the swap to making almost everything that we eat from scratch. I started with making my own bread at home and bread products, which I will make another video about at some point, but snacks were next on my list. I want recipes where I can pronounce all of the ingredients. I know what my kids are eating and they feel nourished and fueled after they're done. And these small changes of just doubling, tripling the recipe does give you extra work now, but you will thank yourself for it later. These are put through some vigorous tests, so I know that kids love them. We are actually going to start with waffles. Waffles are a very easy one to make in bulk. They freeze really well and they're so easy to thaw in the toaster. If you're ever stumped for a dinner or a meal, you can use these waffles as the base and then add some fruit or vegetable on the side with some eggs, and you have a complete, filling, easy, and nutritious meal.
So listen, I use white flour as the base of most of my baked goods and add 1/4 to 1/2 of whole wheat flour. I have plans to switch to fresh milled flour, but I really value balance. In my opinion, if you're switching your family from an ultra-processed diet, you need to make the new food taste good. Once you have a rhythm of cooking from scratch regularly, you can start to make it as nutritious as you possibly can. If you put the pressure on to cook absolutely everything from scratch, plus mill your own flour and keep a sourdough starter, it can feel totally overwhelming. I like to think any switch towards natural living is a positive one. Anyways, this recipe is very straightforward and I'll link it in the description box below. These can be savory by adding cheese, bacon, and eggs, or sweet like I have here with some fresh jam. The second recipe I have is a granola bar. As it stands here, they do have peanut butter, so to make them safe for school, you could use pumpkin or sunflower butter instead. Melt the nut or seed butter and add honey to it. Heating the honey too high can destroy the nutrients, so take it slow. Add in rolled oats and whatever mix-ins your kids like. You could use dried fruits, nuts, or seeds, but I use coconut flakes and chocolate chip. Add in some melted butter and mix it to combine. Grease a baking tray and pour the mixture in. Squish it down using damp fingers or the back of a measuring cup that has also been greased. Store them in the fridge until they're hard. Slice and store in an airtight container in the fridge or freezer, and then you're ready to use when hunger strikes. The third recipe is chocolate banana muffins. These are so good, and even a triple batch is completely devoured. I have a few tricks I've learned over the years, and one is that the smooth bananas are key. You can squish them with a fork, but a hand mixer is so fast and efficient, resulting in silky smooth banana puree. These are a one-bowl recipe and so easy to scale up. They freeze and thaw beautifully and are a staple in our house. You can throw them frozen into a lunchbox, and by the time you're ready for snack, they would be completely thawed. I make my own oat milk for baking. I can make a video about it, but it's literally pennies to make. That's the thing about from scratch cooking. You can save so much money. The trade-off can be time. I do think bulk snacks like these save some time, but ultimately it's still a bit more than packaged food. The question to ask yourself is, what is important to you during each season of life? Some seasons are survival mode and you just do the best you can. During these times, I believe it is important to not give up entirely, but also remove some of the pressure. Maybe you make muffins and call it good. Maybe you focus on from scratch dinner. The point is to do a little more than you think you can, but only by a smidge. Okay, here's trick number 2. This is what elevates these muffins far ahead of other recipes. Spray your muffin tins and fill almost full, and then bake them at 400 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. You want them to be brown and close to burning on the bottom. I know it sounds kind of weird, but trust me, it will all make sense. Now here comes the magic. You let them cool in the pan for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you dump them out onto the counter or a cutting board, flipping them upside down, and let them cool this way completely. It crisps them up, giving the best texture ever. Once they're completely cool, you can freeze them flat in an airtight container and pull them out. This fourth recipe is granola. Granola is so simple to make and customize. You just heat butter and maple syrup in a saucepan until combined, and then pour it over whatever mix-ins that you like. I use pumpkin seeds, coconut flakes, and oats. I'm sure you're sensing a pattern here. But you could add in nuts, flax, or chia, whatever your family likes. Mix it all together until it's totally combined, and then bake it in the oven until it's starting to crisp up and become golden, stirring halfway. Let it cool and then transfer it to an airtight container and store it in the freezer. You can see that I already had some, so I pushed it off to the side to make sure that I would use that first and then added in the new stuff. It freezes beautifully. I also want to point out how forgiving this recipe is. I've made it with different proportions and it always turns out. To serve it, I add frozen fruit, which would be warmed up if we were eating it immediately. But if you're sending it to school or taking it to work, leave the berries frozen and it'll keep the yogurt fresh. You could add the yogurt cups like I have here, or you could just top the fruit with it. I like to store the granola in a separate container so it stays crisp until you're ready to eat it. I always feel good when I serve this to my family. It's filled with so many nutrients and oh, so filling. We are down to recipe number 5. This is a twist on pancakes with 1/3 of the time. It's a sheet pancake. It's made with the same batter as pancakes, but then it's poured into a sheet pan that's been greased. I have a little hack as I'm making these, and that is to squeeze lemon juice into some small silicone molds and freeze them. This is life-changing. Yes, that's dramatic, but we use small amounts of lemon all the time, like in my favorite garlic sauce. But that's for another day. Anyways, we use flour, milk, and butter, and that lemon juice. Mix it together and then spray the pan like crazy so it doesn't stick. You could also grease it with butter. These recipes don't use eggs, but I'm working on some recipes that do. Now this is the fun part, toppings. This is definitely optional, but my family and friends love to eat them this way. That way you don't have to top them with any syrup or jam. To start, I did 1/3 of it with chocolate chips, and then 1/3 swirled with my homemade jam. The final third is a cinnamon sugar swirl. I've been thinking about making a course teaching some from scratch living in a balanced way. And if that's something that interests you, please reach out and let me know what would be helpful. Okay, back to the pancake. Bake this up at 425 degrees for 15 minutes, then let it cool completely and slice it up and serve it. To store it, I like to freeze them flat in a Ziploc bag or an airtight container into the freezer and then take them out as I need, adding them to a small container. If you take these recipes and double or triple them, you'll naturally fill your freezer with foods that you feel good feeding your family. 2 batches usually feeds my family for a week and makes for a super easy snack plate when I just don't know what to feed the kiddos. What are your favorite snacks to feed your family? Comment below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you more than you know. Take care.